It is with great pleasure that I utter these words. Shabbat Shalom!
Shabbat Shalom!
Wow, let's try that one more time. Shabbat Shalom!
Shabbat Shalom!
Woo! All right. For those of you I've not met, I'm Gordon. I'm the executive director. I'm really delighted to be here for the next 5 seconds and then get out of the way for our clergy team. I just want to alert you to a few things. One is, as we had stated previously, this is a keep your mask on service. Secondly, did somebody close my window? Somebody closed the window. Yes, except for the clergy. The clergy can be mask-free. Secondly, in the event that we have to land the plane prematurely, I want to advise you as to where the emergency exits are. Now, in addition to the way you came in, there are exits through this door and that door. Thank you, Cantor. You can just do the thank you. And if you go through those doors, down one floor, out the back of the building, you will be in the alleyway, and you will exit on Webster Street. At that point, you will turn left, you will make a right. We will have a reunion at Dino's, which is right down at the corner of California and Fillmore. Good? Okay. Whoever gets there first, a glass of Burgundy for me. And with that...
Life vests. Under the pew in front of you, you will find a life vest.
Exactly.
Shabbat Shalom. Do you want to say a thing, or are we going to do a song?
Shabbat Shalom. Have you guys met our new Cantor? Woohoo! Cantor Toby Glaser came to us at an inopportune moment in world history. And so you've probably seen him in little teensy-weensy boxes on your screen, but you haven't seen him in his full glory, or asked him yet in person if he likes Vegemite. I keep asking him this question.
Love Vegemite.
And I keep not believing the answer. It can't be true. Let's sing. Let's sing
Yes.
Shabbat in.
Ozi vezimrat ya, my strength with the song of God will be my salvation. Let's find some salvation together. Congregation, the first time in 15 months or so.
We are so delighted to see you and be back together. In case you don't recognize me in 3 dimensions, I'm Rabbi Jessica Graf, joined by Cantor Toby Glaser, Rabbi Abby Phelps, who will be up here shortly, our amazing music director, Jonathan Dimmock, on this gorgeous piano, and an enormous, enormous thanks I want to say at the beginning of this service to all of the people on our staff who have allowed us to be with you together in this crazy time on crazy screens with crazy chords and all kinds of things that had to be invented on the spot. I'm afraid to name names because I'm going to leave somebody out, but Gordon Gladstone, Peter Bonos, I saw Corey Christopher, who was here a minute ago. There he is in the back. Talia, is Talia back there? You guys probably haven't met Talia Ben-Ari yet. She's our new membership. I don't know, what's your title? I don't know, I can't even hear you. She's awesome, get to know her. And Luis and Estuardo Arevalo, who are wandering around here, and Eric Migdale, who has been, not Eric Migdale, that's not true, he's fabulous, but Zach Migdale has been helping us with all of our technology and has been invaluable. Who did I forget? I don't even, David Balafi, who is back with us and keeps us safe and takes care of us, and all of you, here we are, and I want to just begin our service with a reading on page 6 in our Sidurim. What, you cannot hear me. You can hear me. Sorry? The mic is fading in and out. Peter, what can we do about that? Is it still fading in and out? Yeah. As Gordon says, 5 cents, right? Every time somebody starts talking, unmute. On page 6, let me know if you cannot hear me. I knew it. I knew we'd be back about 5 seconds before someone said, I can't hear you. That's so awesome. It's so heartwarming. Page 6 in your Sidurim. We enter this sanctuary to welcome Shabbat. Please read with me. Within these walls, we sit surrounded by numberless generations. Ancestors built the synagogue as a visible sign of God's presence in their midst. Throughout our long history and our endless wanderings, it has endured, a beacon of truth, love, and justice for all humanity. Its presence guided our ancestors to lives of righteousness, holding up to them a vision of their truest selves. And tonight we come back into this sanctuary, into our home. Can I go off script, gentlemen? Can we stand and join in thanking God for giving us life and sustaining us and enabling us to reach this night with words of Shehechianu?
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Amen.
Please be seated. It is a great privilege not to Zoom over, but to welcome in person Craig Etlin, who is the vice president of our congregation, to share some words of welcome.
Actually, not the vice president anymore, just the immediate past president. But
The immediate past president.
yeah,
Who's our vice president?
Katie.
Sorry.
Don't. But
Immediate past president, perhaps future vice president. Future president, I don't know.
But it is really my pleasure to get to do this welcome today. When Lindsay, our president, said she could not be here tonight, would anybody else like to do it? It took me about a half a second to say, I would be so excited to come up and welcome everybody back. It is just so wonderful to be here together, to share some hugs before the service, to be in our magnificent space. And I thought it was really interesting. I opened my Siddur and I had 2 of these. One is dated Friday, March 6th, 2020, from the Purim Spiel, when a lot of us were up there with Cantor Jamie Marks, and that was the last time we were all here together. So I'm going to keep that one as a collector's item. But Shabbat Shalom, everyone. It's just wonderful to be back together.
Well, as Cantor Fromer said to us week after week after week, please take the leaflets out of your Siddur because they will not be relevant
He
next
wasn't
time.
here that night because
Exactly.
Cantor Jamie Marks was here.
That's how we ended up with this in your Siddur.
Exactly. And did you know that was
Awesome.
part of your job description, Cantor?
Okay, I'll make sure to put it on the cue sheet.
Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat
Shalom,
shalom.
Craig.
That plus eating all the cilantro that I pushed to the side of the plate. I think David
All
told
right,
you
we can
that
do
part.
cilantro. Yeah.
We will continue with the lighting of our Shabbat candles. And actually, also off script, I just saw Mimi Goss walk in, and I know that you had a birthday just immediately pass. Will you light our Shabbat candles for us tonight?
Would you like to sing or read or just light?
I can sing if you sing with me.
Yeah, I'll sing with you. Sure.
Sure. Does this thing come out right here?
Mm-hmm. Outside.
Yeah.
There we go. Sing Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner להדליק נר של שבת. Amen. Thank you. Oh, sorry. Maybe? Such a dramatic moment to start off Shabbat. It's going to be great to be able to hear how the congregation says certain words, emphasizes certain syllables, because that's something that's been missing, and you don't get it. I have no idea how you guys even chant the candle blessing, so I'm curious to listen if what I've been teaching all your kids is the way you do things.
You'll get used to us and our American accents here. We continue welcoming Shabbat with Lecha Dodi on page 20.
Lecha Dodi לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה lecha dodi לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה there we are, sorry. שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד השמיענו אל המיוחד אדוני אחד ושמו אחד לשם תפארת ולתהילה lecha dodi לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה lecha dodi לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה כי היא מקור הברכה מראש מקדם נסוכה סוף מעשה במחשבה תהילה lecha dodi לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה lecha dodi לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה התעוררי התעוררי כי באורך קומי אורי 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 שדברי כבור אדוני אלייך נגלה lecha dodi לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה lecha dodi לקראת כלה פני שבת נקבלה. We rise to greet greet the Shabbat angels and not in your living room doorway this time. בואי ושלום עטרת בלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה.
We remain standing and turn to page 28 for Baruch Hu.
Yai dai dai, yai dai dai dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai dai, yai dai dai dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai 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 dai, yai dai 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 dai. Baruchu et Adonai HaMevorach, Baruch Adonai HaMevorach le'olam va'ed. Yai dai 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 dai, yai dai 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 dai.
We thank you, God, for the endless cycle of day which turns to night as the light changes in our sky and brings us evening, especially when that light lights up our beautiful windows in our sanctuary and helps to remind us of these cycles. Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv aravim. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. Page 32.
אהבת עולם בית ישראל עמך אהבת, תורה ומצוות חוקים ומשפטים אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו בשוכבנו וקומנו נשיח בחוקיך ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד, כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו ובהם נגה יומם ולילה, ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד. ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד. ואהבת
Please be seated.
את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
Some time ago, when we came together for the rededication of this building following the completion of the retrofit, we were here and we turned to page 39. And are Lynn and Paul here tonight? I haven't seen them. Lynn Sedway read these words at the top of the page, and I thought that they were extraordinary words, written, of course, for the Jewish people across the world and across the ages, but so relevant to us at that moment as we re-entered our sanctuary as one community. And I've been very much looking forward to reading these words together tonight, hoping over these 67 weeks that soon we would be back together in this very space, recognizing the incredible support and partnership that our community has given one person to another as we arrived at this evening. So please join with me in these words at the top of page 39. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, נורא תהילות אוסף אלה, מלכות תארה ובניך, בוקי הים לפני משה ומרים. זה לי ענו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ידי ידי די 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 ידי די 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 ידי די 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 ידי די 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 וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל.
As we prepare to sing Hashkivenu, I have been saying over these past many weeks that we're also grateful for the shelters over our heads and our homes and blah, 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 but really, it's really exciting to be under the dome tonight. This is our shelter of peace as a community. So everybody, take a moment to look at the dome and sing to the dome as we sing Hashkivenu together.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, l'shalom, ve'ha'amidenu shomrenu l'chaim. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Shelter us beneath your wings, O Adonai. Keep us from all harmful things, O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with morning's light. Teach us, God, wrong from right, O Adonai. Amen. 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 Amen.
We now invite you to rise as able and join us for our standing prayer, the Amidah. Oh, page 46.
Adonai sefatai tiftach, ufi agir tehillatcha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Yadadai, dai, dai, 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 yadadai, dai, dai.
Page 48.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, מביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע. מוריד הטל, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים. סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות, ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
We invite you now to take a few moments for silent prayer. When you have finished your prayers, you may feel free to be seated. We will come back together with Oseh Shalom, which you can find on page 62.
Jonathan just set up this beautiful ambience for us, and I don't want to break that, but I do want to mention that the Oseh Shalom that we've been doing is actually a two-part round, and we have an awful lot of choir members here this evening. So tonight, choir and anyone who's feeling brave, when we get to the second section, right, the Oseh Shalom, you start with the first section, all right? So, Oseh Shalom, when I get to the second section, if you're confused, just stay with me, all right? That's not going to be confusing. Choir members, when we get to the Oseh, you start with Oseh Shalom, and we will get a beautiful
Choir,
round
I'll do it
happening.
with you.
Exactly. Rabbi Abby is also an incredible singer, and she is going to lead our choir members.
Uh-oh, now I'm going to mess it up. No, I'm not. It's gonna be
Official choir captain. All right, here we go. Not yet. Don't ruin the first section yet. Oseh Shalom bimromav hu ya'aseh shalom alenu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'im
I go back to the first section. Ose shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen. Ose shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen. Ose shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen. Ose shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Can you guys hear me okay? Yes, okay. Great. Well, you know I have to start by saying hello out there, right? Hello out there, and more importantly, hello in here. It's so nice to be together in person. I thought we'd have at least a few bathrobes. Raz, where is your pink bathrobe? What a treat to be back together here in our home. For 67 weeks, we made a virtual home, a sanctuary of sorts for us to be in together. But tonight, we're in our real home. For 67 weeks, we wandered like the Israelites, creating a mishkan, a temporary space where God could dwell among us. But we've arrived in our own tent, our permanent, seismically perfect tent. And I'm so happy to be home. Since someone is going to correct me, I might as well take care of this right now. I stated in the missives that we were on week 66. Paying attention? But I started writing a week into the pandemic, so it's really week 67. I never imagined when I climbed over the chairs here, as Craig made reference to a few minutes ago, and I climbed over many of you in a giraffe suit with open bottles of alcohol on Purim 2020, that we wouldn't sit in these seats again until June of 2021. Unthinkable, unimaginable, simply impossible. Over these weeks and months, our community came together in ways I never could have predicted. Throughout the pandemic, you continued the important work of hamotzi and chicken soupers. Some of our angels in this community managed to get people to doctor's appointments and hospitals for necessary treatments, putting friendship and love above all. You called each other, you supported each other, and you reached out when you were feeling sad. Somehow we took care of each other, and here we are. As I've said throughout the last 67 weeks, somehow the Torah, our ancient words of wisdom, came alive in a new way when we most needed them. The guidance and stories of our people had never felt more relevant and personal than they did during this challenging time. Almost every week, the Torah portion seemed to speak directly to what we were experiencing and to give some advice about how to navigate life's challenges. This week is no exception. We find ourselves in Parshat Chukat, a Torah portion filled with important events. Moses' siblings, Miriam and Aaron, both die in this week's Torah portion. The verse immediately following the death of Miriam tells us that the Israelites were then without water. It's understood by the rabbis that Miriam is to be credited for the water that sustained us in the desert. More on that tomorrow morning. If you're vaccinated, please join us at 9:15 for our first in-person Torah study in 15 months. But perhaps the most famous part of this Torah portion is what happens after Miriam's death. Since the Israelites need water to survive, God instructs Moses to talk to a rock, requesting water. In disbelief or frustration or exhaustion or arrogance, Moses doesn't do that. Instead, he takes his staff and hits the rock twice. Copious water comes out and the Israelites are saved. But unfortunately, Moses is punished for this. I mean, I don't really blame the guy. I can hardly imagine what it was like to schlep these kvetching ancestors of ours through a hot, dusty wilderness. The complaints were endless, I am sure. It reminds me of a trip I led years ago to Israel. It was a fairly small group and a relatively short trip, and still, I was ready to tear my hair out. The food allergies, the lost shoes, the things left behind at every stop, the unplanned visits to the pharmacy. Oy vey. I was done leading people through the desert in a week. Imagine how Moses felt. I can only fathom how wiped out poor Moses was. In the story, the Israelites are notoriously walking exactly derech Yam Suf, the Torah says, along the path of the Red Sea, where a great miracle happened. And what are they doing? Complaining. Why did you take us out of slavery? It wasn't really so bad, was it? Why did we have to schlep all the way here? After all this kvetching, then Moses has a personal tragedy. He loses his sister and is faced with the real possibility of a complete shortage of water. So here is Moses asked by God to talk to a rock, and instead he hits it twice. With great anxiety, maybe he hit the rock, desperate for water to calm the people. Still, Moses disobeyed God. Moses couldn't imagine what a new beginning might be like. He couldn't believe that there was a new way to function, to live, and to thrive. Moses reverted to old think. Instead of inventing a new way to address the crisis at hand, Moses went back to old ways. And though God's punishment of Moses, that he will never enter the promised land, seems unnecessarily harsh, it also fits with the story. The Israelites wandered until they had a whole new generation, a new vision, and a new way of going forward. Only then could they enter the promised land and begin life anew. Moses didn't listen or reflect or invent a system based on faith in a new future. This is, for us, a story of warning, a story that invites us to think differently, to reimagine the future, and to start over differently. It's the perfect story for this week, for our first Shabbat back together. It's a story about where we want to go now and how aspirational we want to be. I read an article in The Atlantic a couple of weeks ago that feels like perfect Torah for this time of reopening. It reminded me of the need to leave behind old think and reimagine what our lives will look like going forward. The article, written by Arthur Brooks, is titled "A Once-in-a-Lifetime Chance to Start Over. It's Time to Prepare for a New and Better Normal Than Your Pre-Pandemic Life." I was intrigued. Some of you may have read this article, too. It begins with a story about a woman with a brain injury who survives and decides to change many things in her life. The author says that there are few such opportunities in life, but it so happens we may have one of them right now. As we emerge, hopefully, from this pandemic, everything needs to be redefined. The author says, in these last weeks and months before something resembling normality returns, we might ask ourselves, what do I want normal to look like? Then we can start preparing for a new and better normal than what we took for granted until a year ago. Brooks reports that people are waxing nostalgic about the old days, the pre-pandemic days, remembering them with great fondness. It's not unlike what we see the ancient Israelites doing in the desert. They too wax nostalgic about the so-called good old days, remembering them with fondness, but certainly not reality. In the good old days, they were slaves. Let's be honest, there was plenty to get rid of. But the hard work of starting new lives must have felt overwhelming. And faced with a big task of re-envisioning their lives, the Israelites wished for the easy way out. Let's just go back to Egypt, they whined. As we look back 67 weeks, will we be realistic? Sure, there were some great things about our lives, but also there were a lot of things that needed to be improved, rethought, redesigned. In our society and in our individual lives, we just didn't focus on them. There were lots of things that needed repair 67 weeks ago. Now we have an opportunity to choose what will and won't accompany us into a new beginning. In the Atlantic article, Brooks boldly writes, I am willing to bet that in some areas of your pre-pandemic life, you were deceiving yourself to avoid rocking your own boat. But then your boat was capsized by the coronavirus. Even though he and I have never met, he might be right about my life. Certainly, there were plenty of things that were not perfect in my own narrow place before I wandered through this pandemic mead bar or wilderness. So why go back to them? Brooks suggests an alternative. The weeks and months before you fully re-enter the world should not be wasted, he writes. They are a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to come clean with yourself. Did we lose sound? There we go. To come clean with yourself, to admit that all was not perfectly well before. Here's how you can make a plan not to return to normal. He lays out a 3-part plan. First, he says we each need to do some serious reevaluating and thinking. It's time to be honest with ourselves. Then he suggests we make a list of all the things to leave behind. And then he suggests we make a list of what to keep. I would tweak his suggestion and say that we should not only consider what to keep in our lives, but what to add. The opportunity to start over again in such a grand way is rare. It's true. And we almost never get to do it collectively, or at least in the company of others. What now? Where will we go? What will we aspire to do? We must take warning from Parshat Chukat that spotlights Moses, a generally good guy, whose biggest failing was an inability to be aspirational, to think like a completely free person, to choose his way forward. Deep down, he didn't believe that a totally different way of living was possible. He was guided by fear or maybe just daunted by the opportunity to reimagine life. Like Moses, we stand at a moment that will define the coming generations. Our society cannot go back to where we were any more than the Israelites could return to Egypt. Like them, we are faced with building a new society and creating a world based on the values and dreams we choose to include. Right now, there is an opportunity to make real change individually and collectively. It's a scary moment and an exciting one. What choices will you make? What choices will we make? Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Rabbi Graf, for those inspiring words. Whenever we come together, as we have the opportunity to do, so many of us in person this evening, and also some of us still remotely in our homes and across the country, we take a moment to pray for the health of our community, to wish healing to all those who are in need of it, whether it be healing of mind, body, or spirit. This evening, we think particularly of Shoshana Chana Asher, Ilana Bat Avraham Vasara, Shimon Ben Yehudit, Valerie Chazen Benari, Michael Enery, Michael Gaines, William Kurian, Leonid Londrarenko, Carolyn Reznikoff, Chris Romano, Agnes Rothblatt, Carolyn Olsen-Stellman, and Sam Weiner. To those names, we add the names of any to whom you wish healing this evening. As my hand goes around the room, feel free to say the names aloud. We hold all these names in our hearts as we join together in the Mishaberach prayer, which you can find on page 253.
Mishaberach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishaberach Imotenu Mekor HaBracha Lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
When we come together, we celebrate simchas, joyous occasions in the lives of our community. This past week, both Mimi Goss and Alana Goss had birthdays. She was a birthday present born many years ago. Monica Levin celebrated a birthday. Anybody else celebrate a birthday? I'll invite our birthday girls and boys, whoever's out here. Or if you identify as neither, you count too. Whoever is out here who had a birthday, will you stand, please, for us?
No birthdays this month.
We had no birthdays. Great. Okay, joining our two birthday ladies. Wonderful. Happy birthday. Great. It streams to 120 for all of you, so that's 480. That's a good long time. Adding to those, you can stay standing because we're all going to join you in a minute. We had some babies born in our community, which is a great blessing to our community and to the world. Ezra Rosenblatt was born and named just yesterday, born to Seth and Juliana Rosenblatt. He is the first and so far only grandchild of Erica and Andy Rosenblatt. We also want to say a huge mazel tov to the Funt-Back family. Emily Back was born yesterday, and we very much look forward to welcoming her into our community as well. Janet and Chris welcomed twin baby granddaughters a few weeks ago. Talia became the aunt of twins yesterday. Today.
awesome.
So if you welcomed a baby into your family, please stand wherever you are. If you had an anniversary or other fantastic thing happen to you, please stand. And that should be all of you, because you came back to this space tonight and we are together. God has given us life and sustained us through these really challenging and difficult 15 months of being apart, and it is a great joy for us to be able to be here, to be thankful together for all of these celebrations. So please stand as one community.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה במוצאי. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה.
You may be seated.
No, not true.
Oh, no,
It's time
not
for
true?
Elenu.
Oh,
Please
well,
remain standing for
fine.
Elenu.
Okay, then please remain standing for Elenu. I wanted to say Elenu is very relevant to the drash that Rabbi Graf gave us earlier. Elenu is a prayer in which we remember our obligation to remake the world as we believe that it should be. We did a little tiny bit of that this week. Juneteenth is now a federal holiday, which is very, very exciting. And federal workers all had the day off, I believe, today. So that's a piece of progress. Although I have to say I read a really interesting piece written by somebody for Bechol Lashon about ambivalent feelings about Juneteenth. So go to their website and check it out. But all of that being said, it's just a reminder that the words that we read in Pirkei Avot are really true. It is not on any of us to finish the work, but neither are we free to desist from it. And we remember that every time we say Elenu. So please join us in the Elenu Prayer, which is on page 282.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים מודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
Now you may be seated. At this time, we call to mind all those members of our community and throughout the world whom we have loved and lost. We think particularly this evening of our congregant Arnold Kahn, who unfortunately just recently passed away. It is not yet Shiva for him, as he has not been buried yet, but we remember him this evening. We also remember for Shloshim, for the first 30 days of mourning, Ruth Kagan, Marcia Grossman, and Joanne May Weiss. If you are remembering someone for Shiva or Shloshim, the first 7 or 30 days of mourning, please rise at this time and share their name with us. The perpetual memorials in our community are Dr. Elliot Eisenberg and Judith M. Escalante Melvin. And this evening, we also observe the following yahrzeits. We remember Samuel Austin, Estelle Burke, Nancy Borkin, Eugene Barokovich, Emmanuel Cutler, Paul Cutler, George Glassel, Selma Glassel, Barbara Greenberg, Ralph Lowenstein, Emmanuel Maisel, Morris Perlstein, Sylvia Price, Elliot Sobel, Beatrice Taratut, Isaac Weinblatt, and Ellen Wallace. To those names, we add the names of anyone whom you are remembering this evening. If you are observing a yahrzeit for someone whose name I have not read, please rise and share their name. We now rise together as one community in support of the mourners among us and join in the words of the Mourner's Kaddish on page 294. Yit gadal v'yit kadash shmei rabbah, be'alma divrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon uvchaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru, amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevarach le'olam u'almei almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal shmei d'kudsha brichu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shmaya v'chayim alenu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav hu ya'aseh shalom Alenu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen. May the one who creates peace on high bring peace to us, to all Israel, and to all the world. Together we say, amen. You may be seated. So, for the last 67 weeks, we have been calling upon our executive director to bring us announcements. Are we still doing that, or are we back to the clergy giving announcements? I don't know. Why don't you come on up and offer us some announcements, Gordon Gladstone? So while our executive director is coming up, I'll just remind everybody what Rabbi Graf mentioned earlier, which is 9:15 tomorrow morning. If you are vaccinated, please feel free to come join us in person for Torah study.
Will there be an option for people listening in?
I think that there will be. Will we be Zooming people in as well tomorrow?
Let me cover that.
Please
there we
do.
go.
Okay.
Please do.
Excellent.
All right. Well, it's once again really delightful to be here. If the microphone
It's
doesn't fall apart. No, I know it's on. It's falling apart. Yeah, it's the plastic is. It's suffering from neglect. It was left alone for 67 weeks. 67 weeks. I'm enjoying the sound of all the pews groaning as people stand up and sit down. I'm like, what is that noise? Oh, it's people in the pews. Amazing.
It's a very loud, silent prayer moment. I have to say.
Yeah, no, it's...
You forget. It's
right,
great.
you know, and like, so I don't know how you guys feel, but, you know, I have visions of termites. So, tui. Yeah, okay, all right. I throw some salt or whatever I need to do. Okay, where are we? Announcements, that's why I'm here. So, yes, so it's Chai Layuni, that's today. It's Pride Month. It's Juneteenth Day tomorrow. There is Torah study tomorrow. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I should be alerting people to now that I've wandered all the way up here.
We don't have any bar mitzvah until July.
Right, right.
No, it's exciting to be in the building.
We're playing Stump the Rabbi. Anything else, Rabbi?
That's for studio.
Oh, it's for studio. Okay. Anything else, Rabbi? And she's like, oh, I don't know. Have people taken note of the rabbi's shoes, by the way? Okay.
That's an announcement.
That's a statement.
It's a statement right
It's
there,
a statement.
yes.
Well, in that case, I'll return you to the regularly scheduled programming. It is so wonderful to see all of you here this evening. I'm speechless, which is weird for me. Okay.
Thank you, Gordon. Well, before we conclude our service, we're going to go ahead and do Kiddush and Motzi, which is very exciting because here we are with an actual Kiddush cup and an actual challah. So please join us for, What? Oh, yeah, what we can't do this evening, unfortunately, and those who are at home perhaps can do this for one another, but what we can't do is say, everybody hold up your beautiful challah. I have seen pictures of a challah Ruth made, and I don't know if that's the one, but yes, I saw pictures of this challah. That challah is extraordinary. It looks like our logo, so it's going to be hard to see from where you are, but it is both rainbow for pride and looks like our logo, right? Beautiful.
You couldn't make enough for everybody?
So we're going to show that on the camera.
Show and
Excellent.
tell, yes,
Please do.
perfect.
So for those of you who are at home or elsewhere, you can see Ruth's phenomenal Shereth Israel and Pride themed challah. But first, before we bless the challah, we're going to bless our wine. So Cantor, would you please lead us in Kiddush?
Yeah. I came in today and Gordon said there was a fresh cup of wine. So it's like the fine silverware. We're like getting fresh wine so thank you for not subjecting me to last week's wine. It's all because you're here that we get this special treatment.
If you want to follow along, I believe we're on page 5.
We are indeed. I will get to page 5. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kirshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu בשבת קודשו, באהבה וברצון, הנחילנו, זיכרון למעשה בראשית, כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים, כי בנו בחרת, ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת.
Chaim.
And now, look, a challah. Wise sons, no less. Very nice. Not as good as yours, but a good substitute if we have to have one. So please join us in the motzi.
I'm thinking we should leave the plastic on so people can, eat it. It's the hygienic thing to do.
We'll leave it on for the moment because this way somebody will be able to eat it later.
Exactly. We're not wasting
exactly.
food. But exactly.
And maybe I'll steal a little before she takes it. Go ahead.
Oh, no, you go for it, please. Lead us.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'te'avon.
B'te'avon, enjoy your Shabbat dinners, which I'm sure are waiting for you at home. Hopefully
Yes.
someone's been cooking.
Baking a challah, baking a really exciting looking challah. So we're going to conclude our service with Oseh Shalom. Once again, I think at a time like this, we can use all of the peace that we can get, and there is such an incredible peace in being together in this space and still being able to welcome those of you who are remotely still with us. It's a wonderful thing that we have this incredible community that spans space and time in so many ways. So in honor of that, we'll conclude with Oseh Shalom.
Please
Yes.
rise.
Please rise. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru
יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו אמן. יאי דה 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 שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו אמן. יאי דה 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 שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל יושבי תבל ואמרו
Thank you to Alan Mervis and all of our greeters. Shabbat Shalom.
Please remove your leaflets from the Sidorim.
Please, we didn't. We also neglected. Well, A, Jonathan, but B, our beautiful piano. If you haven't checked it out,
Feel free to come look.
and check out the
Shabbat
piano.
Shalom.
Say hi to Jonathan.